Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 51 of Triumph Beyond Trauma, the very first episode of season 6. I'm Rosie Skeen, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be back with you for another season. Creating this podcast is one of the great joys of my life. I love the conversations I get to have, the lessons that I get to learn, and the chance to share them all with you guys. It's truly a blessing, and I honestly get just as much out of it as you do listening. So thank you. Whether you are out walking, driving, doing the housework, in the gym, or just taking a moment for yourself, it really means the world to have you. We're kicking off this season with a powerful guest, former Northern Territory Police Officer Paul Milne. Paul is a purpose-driven leader with over 20 years of experience spanning governance, emergency services, and mental health advocacy. From serving in remote Indigenous communities as a Northern Territory Police Sergeant to speaking on national stages, including Parliament House, Paul draws deeply from his own lived experience of trauma and recovery. He's a skilled communicator, a LinkedIn top mental health voice, and the author of The Urgent Connection, a brilliant new book exploring the vital role of connection in mental health and resilience. Paul currently serves as a chair of Lived Experience Australia, sits on the Victorian State Committee for Suicide Prevention Australia, and is a proud Beyond Blue ambassador. Paul's insight, compassion, and advocacy are helping to shape a more connected and mentally healthy Australia. Congratulations to Paul. The Urgent Connection officially launched over the weekend and is available now, so go and get your hands on a copy. With that, I'm so excited to bring you episode 51 of Triumph Beyond Trauma. Welcome to Triumph Beyond Trauma, the podcast that explores journeys of resilience and hope. I'm Rosie Skeen, a yoga and breathwork teacher and founder of Tactical Yoga Australia. As a former soldier's wife, mum to 3 beautiful kids, and a medically retired New South Wales police officer with PTSD, I understand the challenges of navigating mental health in the first responder and veteran community. Join us for incredible stories from individuals who've confronted the depths of mental illness and discovered their path to happiness and purpose, as well as solo episodes and expert discussions. Together, we'll uncover the tools to help you navigate your journey toward a brighter, more fulfilling life. Whether you're looking for helpful insights, practical tips, or just a friendly reminder that you're not alone, Triumph Beyond Trauma has got your back. You matter, and your journey to a happier, more meaningful life starts right here. Hi, Paul. Welcome to Triumph Beyond Trauma. So excited to have you here. I would love if we could start off by you telling us where you came from and how you came to join the Northern Territory Police.
So I was born in Scotland, grew up in Melbourne, came over to Australia probably in 1980 with my dad. He was a professional soccer player. He played for Footscray Just. That was in Melbourne. It was a big Yugoslav team back in the day. They brought us over to Australia. Very easygoing childhood, played soccer and football, had lots of friends, of course. Had 2, I didn't have, but I've got 2 sisters. They're both younger than me, of course. I see them every now and then when they're good. They're great sisters. Mum and dad, had a bit of a turbulent sort of relationship and got divorced many years ago, and they've got separate partners now, which is fantastic. I went through my schooling and being a redhead, got picked on a lot. I don't have the red hair now, of course, but I was pretty heavily bullied when I was a kid at primary school, and I got through to high school, still trying to find my place in the world, and decided I wanted to be a plumber by trade, and I ended up doing a plumbing apprenticeship with the Master Plumbers Association Victoria, which was fantastic. I worked in East Malvern for about 3 years with the same employer because we were hired out to different employers within that 4-year period. I still got picked on though because I was an older apprentice, which was interesting. I had a few.
How old were you?
I was 27 at that stage as an apprentice. So I had a few interesting discussions with bosses' sons at work and thinking that I wasn't that smart to be a plumber because I was so old. And let's just say they were educated in different means, which I learned I was pretty good at.
Yeah.
And so I started up my own plumbing business by myself in Melbourne, which was fantastic. Went on for a few years, but then I just started to struggle with chasing people for money, like they weren't paying bills, and it was just like, can't put up this too much. And then one of my friends said, would you like to go on a Kentucky tour of Central Australia? I went, because I didn't know what Kentucky was back then. It's like, oh yeah, that sounds good. So, go away for a couple of weeks, have a few drinks and you muck around and go, oh, that sounds good. So we decided to go on Central Australia. So we flew into Alice Springs, myself and Adam, and we were only two Australians on this bus full of 40 people. They're from Canada, France, every other place in the world. And it was just us. And I think we were the typical Australians and sort of grabbed the microphone on the bus straight away on the first bus trip. And we sort of started from there, just making up stories about Australia and stuff.
Yeah.
We knew they believed.
Good fun.
And we travelled around Central Australia, Kings Canyon, and we were telling them they had to spray deodorant in their swags to stop bugs coming in at night. You'd see them all spraying their sleeping swags, and it was hilarious. But it was good fun. Typical two young men and enjoying themselves. Then I found a place at Kings Canyon. I got to know the local operations manager. We were just sitting at the bar one night while everyone else was drinking and said, oh, what do you do? And I said, oh, I'm a plumber by trade. And I said, oh, okay, cool. So we've been looking for a plumber for 4 months. So we'd be interested in coming up. I went, yeah, that sounds all right. Does it pay much? She goes, no, it doesn't pay nothing really. But it's the environment. No, like the pay was crap really. And he said, oh yeah, no, I'll think about it. And I went back to Melbourne and I worked there for a couple of months. I went, I'm done. So built up my ute and I headed back to Central Australia. And I fell in love with Central Australia. It was just one of those places when you go to the desert and it was just amazing. And so I started working there for a few years. I worked on the camel station down the road for a little bit. And then got to know the local police that used to come through every Friday night to the local at the pub. And I got to know them and have a few drinks with them, sit at the bar talking and all that sort of stuff. And the local sergeant, Jack Clifford, who's no longer with us, but he said, oh, you'd be a great copper, Paul. I'm going, what do you mean? I said, I don't know nothing about police work. He said, no, you can drink. You'd be perfect. I went, okay, that's a prerequisite. I said, oh, I'll think about it. And then the following week, they come back through on a Friday and then brought a application form for the NT Police. So we filled it in over the bar. Like I don't know how we filled it in, but we did. They said, we'll write your references and all that sort of stuff. I'm going, okay. So they took it back and I didn't think nothing of it. And then 2 weeks later, I get a phone call asking me if I'd like to go to Alice Springs for an interview. And Alice Springs was about 426 k's away from Kings Canyon. So I thought, oh, I could do that. So no worries. So went in there and prepared myself for an interview. So I don't know what they're going to ask me about police work. Obviously Googled a little bit and I knew nothing about policing anyway. Had the interview, had 2 male superintendents and 1 female superintendent, and all we talked about was Kentucky. Oh. The interview went for 21 minutes, I think it was. And they asked a range of questions, but they were all about, Kentucky, how was it? It was like, okay. And it's like, and the female superintendent, she's just rolling her eyes. Her name was Louise. I got to know Louise very well down the track, but it was quite funny. And I left and went, oh, okay, done. And then 4 weeks later, I said, oh, do you want to come to Darwin for 6 months? They're going, okay, cool. You can come and join the college. I said, no worries. So I moved up to Darwin, started in January, I think it was 23 or 24. Not 23, 2003, I think it was. Yeah, and it was different.
Yeah.
For someone who hasn't done exams for a long time, then trying to get your head around, you got to study and do an exam at the end of the week. And back those days, you used to have a thing called pink slips. So if you got 3 pink slips, you're off the course.
Okay.
That has now changed. They don't do pink slips anymore. It's just basically, okay, you continue on. So I got through. I was never a stellar person in the exam space, but if we got more than 70, I was quite happy. So I did the course, got through, enjoyed it, immensely learned a lot, started making a lot of good friends. I got to know the local superintendent at the college very well because we were always told not to go up to the police club at night on Friday. Mm-hmm. I was always told by my coordinator that I had to maintain what I do normally on a Friday. So we used to go to the pub. So got to know all the bosses very quickly in the college and had a pretty good relationship with them. And in the mornings, they'd come down on like a Monday and, obviously you have to stand to attention for all the superintendents, but I never did. So because I knew them and everyone would be looking, why are you standing up? I'm going, no. And I said, oh, no, because he owes me $50 from playing pool last night. So I'm not standing up. So, but it was good. It was a fun, it's changed a lot in the years now, but it used to be fun. Like, we used to have really good camaraderie and looking after each other, and so it was really good. Then I got posted to Alice Springs first, and I was in Alice for probably about a month. Then I got stationed out to Yulara at Mildula and Uluru, which was fantastic to see, parts of Australia I'd never even saw before, but it was eye-opening. Got to see a lot of things that no one should see, I think, is probably the right terminology. I saw a lot of fatalities, death, it started from there. And it was interesting looking back and reflecting back now, like we were never told how to deal with that sort of stuff. So I was out there for a few months. I remember one Christmas day, I think it was the first Christmas day I was out there. I did like a 28-hour shift due to someone had a firearm in the community. So we had to go out there on Christmas Day and got it solved. And yeah, it was like, oh, this is interesting. I didn't know police work was like that. And then got back into Alice Springs, eventually got stationed back there, and it was busy. It wasn't like it is now. I remember on night shifts that we used to go park up on top of Billy Goat Hill and fall asleep on night shift for about 20 minutes because the radio wouldn't happen. And you can't do that now, of course. But like they were fun. Like it was busy, but I wasn't very aware of the things that I was seeing and dealing with. I think you just like sort of, wash them to the side and you don't start dealing with things. So for many years, you're continually going through different things and still to this day, I can still see images in my head of the things I've seen and places I've been, but it's probably not as bad now where I am now in my life to what it was 10 years ago. So for many years, we dealt with many things, and there was just no support in that area. Like we were never, I remember looking back at, my mental health training in college, and it was for a few hours and it wasn't about my personal mental health. It was all about the Mental Health Act. So,
Yes.
you know what I mean? It's like, well, how do, like you look at if I had that back then, like, would I have been better? Would I have fallen down as much as I did? Who knows? I think if I had that, I probably wouldn't have because I would have been more self-aware of my own body and what I can take on. So, yeah, so I was there for Alice Springs for about 11 years. I used to ride dirt bikes in town, which was fantastic. So all we did is like, tip out alcohol in the river with a lot of Indigenous people consuming alcohol within 2Ks. And it was fun. Like we'd just jumping and tipping out grog and, we had a good laugh and it was enjoyable. But as I said, there was also a thing in the background that was always growing and just filling that cup up, which I was never aware about. I had a family, had 2 kids by that stage. And then I think about 2011, I'm jumping a fair bit ahead, but 2011, I just wanted a break from police work. I was just, probably then, I probably knew there was something going on with me, but I just didn't know what it was. So I came back to Melbourne, went back to plumbing for a few months. And as being a typical police officer, you missed it. You missed the bars, the lights and sirens and chasing crooks and all that. Like, oh, this is good fun. And I said, no, I've got to go back. I miss it too much. So instead of going back to Alice, I went to Darwin, to the top end. Because I worked with a lot of remote communities, the southern region, like Yindamu and places like that. Obviously heard in the media, of course, previously, but they were fun. Like it was fun living in a community. There was like a lot of good people out there. And as I said, we went to Darwin, started at Palmerston for a while, and then there was a different range of incidents. I don't know why, because it was a city, but it started with more hostage seizures and, and the fatalities were, yeah, they just started building up. And I think it was one year, it was 2013, I think it was. There was one Christmas period that I had like 6 fatalities within 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Many of them were kids. And I had a young family and, it sort of, just knocked me for 6. So there was one day I was on night shift and being a sergeant, went up in a car, got tasked to a drunk job and couldn't get out of the car. It's like, I felt like I was having a heart attack. My heart started going really fast, and I didn't know what it was because I thought, oh, maybe I had too much coffee or something like that. But you know what I mean? Like it was just something that ended up being, it was a panic attack, and I didn't know that back then. But I got back to the station and sat at the sergeant's desk and was filling in all the paperwork, and that was it. Next morning, I said, can't come back to work. Didn't know why, but I said, like, felt like someone had got an anchor and just like strapped it to my ankles and gone, I can't go in. So, yeah, wish it had been dealt with a little bit differently, and as in being supported and that by the organisation, but it wasn't. So, as I said, I didn't know what was going on. So I was at home and thought, oh, I have to get a medical certificate because I'm off work. So the roster sergeant would keep calling me up saying, where's your medical certificate? I said, yeah, I'm just getting it, no worries. Okay. So then I took it in one day, I think it was like 2 weeks after it, and then gone to my locker and gone, where's all my stuff? Like, it's only been 2 weeks. And I went, so I said, where's all my stuff in your kit bag and all that? Well, you're not coming back to work, are you? Gone, what do you mean? I've only been 2 weeks away. Like, okay. So I went back home. I was destroyed by this time. I'm going, when your mind's not right, you know what's going on. I said, like, okay. Then I had to work out the stigma attached to going to see a psychologist because I was one of those old school people. It's like, I can't speak to anyone. There's no way in the world I'm going to speak to anyone. So it was 4 weeks of just, sitting in corners in your bedroom and darkness and, rain, and you don't even know what's going on in your head because it's spinning so fast. And I thought, okay, well, I need to go see a psychologist. So I went and saw a psychologist, and she says, well, I think I need to go see a GP. I go, what do I need to see GP for? So I think you might need to get some medication. I went, oh, okay. So I saw, and she was lovely. Like my psychologist, she was a beautiful person, and she really helped me. And went to a GP, and she said, I think you might have PTSD. And I'm going, what's PTSD? Because I didn't, we didn't know what PTSD was back then. And goes, oh, okay. And, you might seem a little bit depressed. And I go, okay. So then she prescribed me some medication, which I didn't want to take because I'm that old school mentality of not taking medication. So I'm not broken anything. So I couldn't see it. So, and then it just started to spiral from there. Then, taking medication, your side effects, and then being paranoid that you're at home and then people are driving past from work trying to check out if you're still sick, and, because no one ever asked. So eventually you've seen a psychiatrist, and, officially then it got to about the 6 months mark, and then I got told, so I need to go on workers' comp. So why? Why am I going to workers' comp? Because you can have medical bills and that you can't keep paying it, and, you're only covered for a certain stage. So I eventually got over that and then went on to workers' comp for many years. And it snowballed. And then obviously where we lived, I couldn't drive anywhere because it was always triggering, like with different incidents and different streets. And I just couldn't drive in town. So I had to find somewhere else to live. And because there was no mental health support or resources for first responders in the Northern Territory, we looked a bit down south towards Melbourne and had the Ward 17 down at Heidelberg Repat Centre. So I looked into me and the psychologist looked into the course, and it was like a 12-week, 1-day-a-week course for first responders. I thought, oh, that's great. We'll get down there and we can do that. So I moved the whole family back down to Victoria. Mind you, I haven't heard from my bosses at this stage. So this has gone on for 14 months. So
14 months and they hadn't contacted you?
No, 14 months. No one ever called to see, how's your wife, how the kids, how are you doing? Nothing like that. Like, it was dead silence. But also in that time, I also noticed that the good friends that I had would stop calling me or stop contacting me because they thought, well, this is what my opinion is, that they thought it was contagious and they'd probably catch it. Or they probably realise that they've got the same thing but don't want to realise it at that time. So
yeah, just on that, I can resonate with that so much that I've mentioned it before. Like, we were actually told not to contact anyone that had gone off on sick report with psychological injury. And that is 100%, I think, the worst part of it, because you think that you've got this great bunch of workmates, and then it doesn't, to me, it didn't matter so much that the bosses didn't call or whatever. Okay. Like, that didn't bother me very much at all. Like, I was probably pretty grateful that I didn't hear from them, to be honest.
I agree totally.
But it's it's your mates, and not like, the bullshit ones that you work with, like your actual mates that that you're going to have for a really long time. And when they don't call, that is really, really tough.
Yeah. And I've still got a few, I still speak with them, but there's a lot that just disengage. It's like, well, and for me, I was angry for many years about that because, what did I do to you for you to stop talking to me? I couldn't work it out. Yeah. And it's, it still hurts, but not as much as it used to. So, I never understood that. But anyway, so I went down south to the Ward 17 and PTRS. What you got to meet a lot of Victorian coppers and ambos, and just start building that network. That's how my network started to build down there and start to speak to people. And it was really good to be in a room with people but not say anything, but they understood.
Yes.
So not quite safe. So I just did that process. And then the problem that I used to have with medication is that my body used to metabolize it fairly fast. So it could only last about 4 weeks and then it stopped working. So then I'd have to go back into Ward 17 and then come off medication, go on new medication. So it was an uphill battle. But then in my book, I wrote about meeting a monk at Ward 17, and he just changed the way I looked at myself. It's just even a simple conversation, just being not kind to yourself. It's like, well, oh, okay. But I didn't know what that looked like. But anyway, it developed from there. So I continued with my treatment. I did I've done ECT, CBT, so much mindfulness. I could probably write another book on mindfulness. I've done so much of it. But things that may have worked for me probably don't work for everyone else. But it was just interesting to try different things. And I was more interested in, like yoga and painting and to see what would actually work. Mind you, I'm not very good at yoga, but it was fun, like to learn that sort of stuff. And then I went through there, and then it was a few years ago, a few people from the NT Police obviously suicided. I think it was like 4 and 4 months, and I knew it very well. And then it just sort of tweaked something in me to start speaking up against, first responder mental health and supports and that. And I started and got contacted by media in Darwin. I did a few interviews, spoke on the radio, started doing some media, and thought, oh, this is pretty good. Like, enjoy that. And then got involved with the Heart to Heart Walk that was from Central Australia to Canberra, and then got asked to join on that, and then became one of the main organisers there with Elmo and stuff like that. And it's like meeting these people were just fantastic. And I'd always speak to Elmo now and have good discussions with him and have a good laugh about what happened and stuff like that. But it was interesting. But it was for a main cause, and it was good to actually plan an event in Parliament House and speak in Parliament House, which was something I never thought I'd be capable of doing. And to speaking to like senators and the Attorney General of Australia, it's going, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, it's like, well, I didn't think I'd ever do this. And we just build on from there. And I started going into other organisations, and with Lived Experience Australia, jumped on their board and now their chair, and speaking for Beyond Blue, and continued with that. And I've just always been involved in that area, but always trying to learn more about myself, but also trying to learn more about others and trying to instill like being empathetic to people. And there was one time I recontacted the NT Police. I haven't spoken to them. I think it was probably about 8 years it took me to call them back, because they'd never called me in that time. I thought, I'm going to give them a call, because there was a lot of things happening. I said, look, I'm just offering help, assistance from what I've been through to talk to members, if they can get anything out of it. I'm quite open to discussing things that are working for me or stuff that I may have missed in my career that may help them. Yeah, no, I've got crickets. Not
Don't
interested.
let anyone back in.
No. It's like, well, okay, but it's like I didn't care. Like, obviously I was angry for many years about the job. But you get to one point, you go, well, this is not serving me anymore. There's no point being angry. So you've got to move on. So I did. And it's like, well, okay, that's fine. So just started concentrating on myself, and then started getting into fitness a lot more and looking after my health and what's proper, what's right for me. And I've just continued on from there. So
yeah. Something that obviously I've read your beautiful book and I loved it. It's called The Urgent Connection. And we'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute. But something like just what you said there before, when you were first told that you had PTSD, or before that, before you saw a psychologist, you didn't want to, sat in the corner of your room for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
But then now, like in your book, your healing journey has been so diverse, and you've been open to exploring so many different modalities. And I've just written a few down because there's so many, but like journaling, EMDR, surfing, tremor work, yoga, Pilates, going to the gym, water immersion, light meditation, like positive affirmations, muscle relaxation, nature, mindfulness, ice baths, breath work, and chakra healing, which I love. That's so impressive. And I think it speaks a lot to having a bit of agency in your recovery journey as well, and being open to trying new things. So I probably missed a few even, but how important has it been to you to try such a wide variety of approaches?
I think it's important because medication only masks the issue or the problem. It doesn't actually solve it. And people think, oh, I'm going to take medication, I'm going to be fine. Well, actually, you haven't really fixed anything yet. You're just sort of masking it down. So, but I understand the importance of medication, because it gets you to that point that you can actually start to process little things a bit better. So obviously there is a need for it in some people, but one thing doesn't fix PTSD and depression, anxiety. And I got to that mindset, well, I've got to keep trying different things and see how my body reacts to different things. And that's why I still continue to try different things to look after myself, because some of them are quite enjoyable. Like when I first got told about mindfulness, I went, no, this is bullshit. I'm like,
Most people do.
I was like, what? I was
Especially
like,
cubs.
no, I know exactly. You're going, what? You want to watch leaves going down a stream? I'm going, how do I look at that? You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, I do.
but Oh, no, it's crazy, but it's like you go, okay, well, I'll try that, and then tried yoga. And I always have fun with yoga and Pilates and all that. People go, yeah, Pilates. I go, yeah, mate, it kills. Like it hurts.
Yeah, oh,
You
yeah,
know,
it's
you
brutal.
know what I mean? But it was fun. And then like got into doing breath work, and then like jumping in ice baths, and I was like, going, like obviously got cold, but like it was fun. Like I enjoy it because it just makes you feel so different to
Mm.
normal. But yeah, like I always, if I'm preaching to people, I just explore different things. Don't be afraid to look at, something you haven't thought about and go, it may be something you quite enjoy. But you've got to try it. If you don't know, you're holding yourself back. So,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's there's so much out there that you can
oh
do
yeah,
that's not
yeah,
sort of like in the medical route, which
mm,
is really cool, and you just have to be open to it, you know?
yeah. And I think it comes from being like ashamed sometimes to asking for help. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people think, oh well, I don't want to ask for help or stuff like that, and it's like, well, it's okay. Like, and I think I'm probably a bit more vulnerable now where I am now in my life until I was like 20 years ago, but I don't care anymore. Like I do care, but I don't care how it's perceived. It's like I just want to learn, and I want to look after myself. And if it provides options for people to make their own decisions, that's empowering for them because then they can make their own choice. And it's like, well, I did this. You made the decision, so I didn't do anything. So I just got the options for you. So,
Yeah.
no.
How because I mentioned journaling in there. Is that
Yeah.
how the book came about?
Yeah, it did. It was funny because when I started the book last year, I went through my old notes and it's like, oh yeah, looking at old journaling. So I thought, okay, maybe if I like, put that into context. Like I've been thinking about doing a book for many years, but then I met my new partner Vicky, and she's amazing. She goes, "Why don't you just put it into a book?" I went, "Really?" So yeah. She goes, "Oh, I know a book coach." I go, "Oh, do you?" Mind you,
Hey.
mind you, a couple of years later, I met the book coach through, I think it was through Fortum. I think we were speaking. Her name is Jo, and I was speaking to her. I was talking about doing a book, and I thought, put to the side as I didn't do it. And then she goes, "Yeah, I know this lady from old school. Her name's Jo." I've gone, "Jo Johnson." She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, that's my book." So, so I just clicked. It was just like, when 6 degrees of separation all happens. So she
Yeah.
goes, "Yeah." And then we got called up Jo and said, "Oh, do you know Vicky?" She goes, "Oh, yeah, friend from school." Okay, then start from there. And so we thought, all right, let's do this. So she was a fantastic coach. All framework put in place and what to work on. And so she said, don't write chapters in a row, just write what comes to your head, type down, and I did. So it took me just over 8 months.
Well, that was pretty quick.
Yeah, like as I spoke to Mark Thomas from Code Nine, and like he read my book, and he goes, it was a little bit different because he was expecting stories about what I've been through, like triggering events and that. I said, well, I didn't want it to be like that because it's a lot of books are out there.
Yeah.
He goes, no, it's incredible because it was different to how he perceived it. It was more about different tools and stuff and to try. And so, well, so that's what it's about. Like, I could tell people my story, but it's more about, creating a better environment for people to try different things. So,
Yeah, that's what I've got. I really enjoyed how when you put your book together
mhm.
that you were able to interweave your story into the things that you've learnt as well. So, we get a taste of your journey,
Yeah,
but more importantly, like the reader leaves with things that they can do to help themselves
yeah,
as well.
no, exactly.
Yeah, I really love that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you got something out, but it's just that it's good that you can actually be validated, I suppose, as well in your story that giving someone something to take away, and it's like, well, you know what, I might try that. Like, cool. So,
Mm.
which is fantastic. So, but yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed writing about different aspects of the book. It wasn't all just about police work. We're talking about relationships and how you should be with each other, and connection is really important. I suppose that human connection, and just delving into that a little bit more. So, yeah, no.
Yeah, I've got a question about that actually, because I know, like I love how you, like despite going through a marriage breakdown,
Yeah,
that you've now gone on to find a really deep and genuine love with your partner, Vicky, who you just
yeah,
mentioned. And I think a lot of us, and I include myself here, unfortunately, can overlook just how significant our partners can be in our
yeah,
healing journeys.
yeah.
How's Vicky influenced your healing journey in the last few years?
Well, it's funny, Rosie. Like, when you meet people, you can meet people in your life, you come across them, and you just go, oh, okay, yep, no worries. They're an acquaintance. They come in for a reason. But from the first moment I met her, it's just like, oh my God, who's this person? Like, it's just, people talk about, like, sometimes it can be really corny about talking about energy and, oh, I know there's energy, but whatever it was, but like we just sort of talked. And then we found out that we enjoy the same things and we like going to the gym, we like mindfulness, and it just snowballed. It's just all the simple things. And like when we first met, this is a story I'm going to run with. But when we first met, and then like she's sitting at the table and she's sitting by herself, and I was like, oh yeah, oh God, she's gorgeous. And like I went to the bar and then I texted her and I said, oh, geez, you haven't left yet? No, it's okay. So of course, and then come back to the table. And I say her hands were shaking while she was sitting there, but she said it was just a ploy for me to go hold her hand. So I said, oh, your hands are a little bit shaky. So I'll hold your hand. And obviously it worked, of course. But so it went from there. And then, it hasn't stopped. It's been just on 16 months now. And, we've traveled many places, and Byron and Darwin. And yeah, we just enjoy it. Like, it's just having those open conversations, I think, is very important, being authentic with each other and just building that trust that you can love each other differently. Like, it's a different sort of love. Like, I know I've been in love before, but this is totally different to what we both experienced. And it's like, oh my God, it's like, we call each other every morning if we're not seeing each other, and text messages. And it's like, people probably think it's a bit too much for people, but that's what we love. We enjoy it. So
yeah, it's so beautiful. It was so
I know it is. It is
in the book. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's why I wanted to put her in my book as well, because she's the inspiration why I did it. Like, I've always been thinking about it, but you just, as I said, there's some people in your life you meet and you just go, wow.
Yeah.
And I do that every day.
Yeah. That's so good. Especially like, what you've been through and all that sort of stuff, to have that amazing connection, and then use that as well to write this book, which is, like I said, it's incredible. I have a couple more questions.
Of course.
Oh, the monk in orange. I wanted to talk about that, actually. And so you mentioned him before, but he said to you, what do you truly feel is holding you back from being at peace with your past?
Yeah.
That is such an intense question.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah,
especially when you're going through some, stuff in your head, and it's like, oh my God, I think about that. But and then when I eventually had that conversation with him, and I came back and reflected on it a bit, and then I went and got a book, because he gave me a book on being Hinduism.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing about that. Like, I just thought, it's people just dressed up in orange robes and stuff. But then I started learning about it, and I went, oh my God. And then just like, the simplicity of things. And it's like, okay, so and I thought to myself, maybe I'm being too hard on myself, and had to start being kind. So I did. And then just went from there. And it was just a beautiful person. Like, he didn't have much things with him. And, and I said, oh, can I give you anything? And he goes, oh, can you give me some raises and stuff like that? It's like, yeah, sure. And that was it. Like, didn't want to pay me for the book he gave me. It's just like, wow. Just gave me a new outlook on how diverse people are in different. And I've just seen a few, obviously lots of diversity and inclusivity in different communities and stuff. It was just different to see a different aspect to how we look after ourselves. And then once I did that, and then I got into chakras and light meditation, and people go, what's light meditation? You talk about light coming down through your head and going through your body, and you go, how does that work? It's like, trust me, it blows you away. But once you really get into it, and I never thought I'd be like that 20 years ago. Like, I never thought I'd do the stuff that I've done now, and I never thought where I'd be right now in 20 years. So
yeah, I think it's really nice too that you speak openly about it, because I know quite a few men now that practice yoga and breathwork and things like that, but still I don't think enough men talk about it openly, and especially in jobs like the cops and defence, because it probably does have a negative sort of connotation attached to it, like it might be a bit feminine.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been around for thousands of years, these practices, and they're really effective. And I guess that's what you found as well, right?
Yeah, I know exactly. Like I said, that's been tried and tested for many years, and it's like, I don't know everything about them, but I know bits and pieces now where I can put the things in place for myself. But you're right in saying, men are probably the worst to talk up and have those conversations. And as you know, in the police force, it's career ending when you start mentioning, mental health. People go, no, you're done, mate. You're cooked. And you look at VicPol, you've got 1,100 members down there at the moment on sick leave. It's like, we're not doing things better yet.
No.
We may have some bit more information, but we're still not looking after people. When you got the coronial going on in Darwin at the moment, Mickey Dutram, and I remember working with Mick when I was first at Ulara, when I first started my career, and he is a fantastic person. I always remember that he was the most organized person in the world. Like, he had these 2 folders with all the forms, pro forma form statements. I'm going, man, I need to set that up.
Yeah.
Like, but he had these 2 big bags. I'm going, where do you carry so many bags for? I just had like a backpack. And he's going, no, I got all my forms and statements and pro formas and what I've done. But yeah, he was fantastic. And unfortunately, he wasn't looked after well by the organisation, which obviously I'm not going to go into, but we all know what happened to him and, his cry for help and just sort of wasn't listened to. So, and unfortunately, we lost him. But yeah, no, he was a wonderful copper. I don't think anyone in the NT police could say a bad word about Mick. So he was just one of those men. So.
And that's why it's such a tragedy, right? Because it's
Mm.
usually those really good blokes
Oh,
and
yeah.
women that
Yeah.
we lose because of the lack of support that they get.
Yeah. And it's just, that empathy we should be showing towards people, but we just don't. We're very quick to say, oh, no, he's on sick leave, or he's got something wrong with his head. I'll get someone else to do the role. The wheel will keep turning, but we don't actually fix the wheel and why the cogs are falling off. And you look at attrition rates now everywhere in Australia, look how burnt out people are, and because we can't have members are calling off sick, and, there's workload's increasing, but we don't have the members to do it.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with youth crime, everything. We could be talking about this for hours, but it's just like, well, how do you solve it? Like, you don't have the people there, you can't do your job. But we fail to do that every time. We don't want to take the responsibility of looking after people.
Yeah. And that's why it really gives me the shits that, like you said before, you couldn't get back into the Northern Territory Police to have just a chat with them to say, hey, these might be some things to keep an eye on and do.
No, exactly.
Yeah. And it really, like I said, we could talk about it for ages, and it really does shit me that they're not in the prevention space yet. And it's going to get worse before it gets.
Yeah, and like they talk the talk, but it's actually putting actions in place. Like, it's a simple thing, and they still do it to this day. Like, if people go on sick leave, they don't follow up. They don't give them a call and say, hey, how you going? They might not want a conversation, but at least make the effort. We still don't do that. Like, we don't communicate. You got people on, work, back to work plans that aren't contacted. It's like, what am I doing? It's just like, do it better.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't have people who are in those roles that understand police work.
No. Yeah.
So,
there's definitely potential to be better.
yeah, 100%. Definitely.
So you mentioned Beyond Blue and a few other things. What are you up to now, other than promoting your book?
Yes, of course. I don't like my book too much, but like, I'm just starting to now, like, just sort of testing the waters, how it's going. And I think I'm up to about 89 books I've sold in the first couple of weeks, which is fantastic. Like, to sell one book was enough for me, but like, I really enjoy it. Like, just the feedback I'm getting from other police members I've worked with, like, for many years. Like, and I got one from a guy the other day. He says, I haven't written a book or read a book in about 20 years. I said, okay, but I bought yours. I've gone, oh, okay, that's awesome. Texting back. I said, to be honest, I read the first chapter. I said, I'd put it down. I said, it really affected me. It triggered me. I didn't realize it was going to. And then he said to me, like, this is probably the most profounding thing I've had so far. He goes, I thought I was buying a book to support me, but I actually bought the book to support myself. I didn't realize. And it's like, I'm done. I don't need to sell any more books. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just to hit that mark that he understood that was the whole key of the book. So, which is amazing. And yeah, I'm very happy with that. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what else are you still speaking for Beyond Blue? Are you still doing?
Yeah, I did. I've been doing a bit of public speaking for the farmers at the moment.
Yeah.
I did a talk down towards Phillip Island the other day for Just a Farmer. It's an Australian movie about farming life, suicide, and that. Very powerful, very triggering movie. So if anyone does watch it, be careful. It is triggering. But then I got to sit on a panel and speak to the local community about, mental health and the signs to look out for, and your partners and your friends, which was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. And the feedback was really good. Still having discussions with people there, and probably looking to expand that a little bit more and go into different areas and, farming communities, especially with the drought and obviously the floods, I suppose, up your way. It's just a hard world at the moment. And, people were talking about the emergency services levy in Victoria, putting extra levies on landowners for, being volunteers in the CFA. And it's just, how much more can you throw at this, bit of population? And, you've got your first responders. It's a very big area at the moment that we still need to focus on. And unfortunately, we don't have all the funding we need. So. Yeah, but I do enjoy public speaking. Just down at Bass Coast at the moment as a team leader of emergency management down there, so I'm enjoying that new role, which is fantastic. I just get to speak to the community, and I just enjoy that. That's, it's fun. So
Yeah. And you still feel like you're giving back, even though like you're out of the cops, but I think it gives you a sense of purpose, doesn't it? Getting to talk to people.
yeah, I think I've obviously been a person, a people person, but just giving back. Like now, it's a different way of giving back. Police work's obviously totally different to what I'm doing now, but it's still important, and understand the importance and building those relationships with obviously first responders and police members now, and just getting them to look after themselves. So, the days of the 30-year veteran are now gone. It's the 5 to 10-year veteran, unfortunately. But yeah, just wish they'd just look after us a little bit better. So
Yeah. Do you have any advice for people listening today if they might still be in the job even, like what would you say to those people in the cops if you got to go in there and have a chat to them?
probably buy my book because obviously it's good for
There's
me.
lots in there.
Yeah, of course. No, I think planning for the future, like even at recruitment stage, you already look at what is after work life look, what's going to look at after your job. So when recruits, we learn about the job, we learn about all the new legislation, learn our powers and efforts. Like, okay, if I was going to leave the job in a year, what could I, plan ahead, get my ducks in a row to actually look at it. So look at when you do leave, you've got something to go to. Because at the moment, we've got a lot of people going to the job, but we don't plan ahead. And be wary of, how you're feeling at jobs and building that network of people that you can actually trust and speak to, and there's no judgment. And I know it's hard in policing world to actually go and talk to people, but building those friendships, especially at the recruit level, and maintaining them, and so you've got that network of people. It could be 5 or 6 people, but they're the people you count on, and there's no judgment. But it's all about those safe spaces, being vulnerable to talk about things and disclosing information about yourself that it's not going to be used against you is the hardest part.
Yeah.
And and it's something we still have to work with.
That's really tricky.
But it's very tricky. But I always think, planning ahead for the future. And I didn't, of course, I never did. And I know there's many people that go into the job and don't think, 10, 15 years down the track, if I'm going to still be a police officer. But if you see a passion of something and you've got courses, get on the courses, learn. You get RPL for things that I never thought I'd be RPL for. Because one day you're going to leave.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's just a question of how fast.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but yeah, as I said, like, I always talk to people about how does your last 10 years of your life look? Do you want to be able to walk? Do you want to be able to climb stairs? Do you want to go on adventures? Do you want to play with your grandkids? It's like, well, you need to put things in place now. So when you do get to the last 10 years, they're enjoyable. And you're not sitting around just waiting to die. So as police, we burn ourselves out. It's like, well, what am I going to do in the last 10 years? Am I going to be fried or in a home? It's like, no, you don't want that. You want to be able to explore the world and enjoy yourself. So you just need to put things in perspective and start doing things now. Like your leg strength. Your legs are going to get you to be 80. If you don't have your legs, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just be, it's often about mental health and physical health because they both work entwined together.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I think that's one of the main reasons that I go to the gym every day is to make sure that I'm fit and healthy for when I have grandchildren one day and to be able to do the fun things that I want to do with them. Not like obviously now for my mental health is really important too, but it's not just a physical aspect of going to the gym to look good. Like it's not that for me at all. It's my
definitely.
mental health first, and then of course to keep my body in check for when I'm older.
Yeah.
And it's so important, and I just don't think people think about that enough, like at all.
No, well, I don't think we do. I think it's just like, I'll worry about that down the track when I get to that.
It's too
So
late.
you do something now. It's like, how are you going to stop things? You can see anything. Like, like how many people can climb up a set of stairs and not be out of breath?
Yeah, I know.
There's so many people. It's like, well, okay, well, maybe I need to do something about it. It's just eating right. It's just, as I said, we can ramble on about what we, should be doing, shouldn't be doing, but it just have a look what's important to you. Like if you want to do things later on in life, plan now. And that comes to police work as well. Like if you think you're not going to be in the job for 20 years, start planning. See what you want to do and then go from there. Because there's plenty of opportunities out there. So
there's so many opportunities.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you so much for coming on.
No, I enjoyed it.
We had a couple of false starts, but I'm so glad we got together. Your book is available now. I'm going to hit all the links in the show notes from where people can grab that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great read. So thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah, it's good. I appreciate your time today, but as I said, I love coming on to talk to you finally.
I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have, make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss any new ones. We release fresh content every Tuesday. And while you're there, take a moment to leave us a review. I would genuinely appreciate your thoughts. Don't forget to connect with me on Instagram and Facebook at Tactical Yoga Australia and share this episode with your friends, family and workmates to spread inspiration. Your support means the world. My name is Rosie Skeen. Join me again next week for another empowering and positive episode of Triumph Beyond Trauma. Until then, be kind to your mind and trust in the magic of your consistent and positive efforts. Triumph beyond your trauma is closer than you think. Have the best week.